Well, today the news in the Star Wars universe, as imagined by Disney, just got really interesting. So now it looks like all of the little movies, I guess you could call them, all of the side movies, not the main dish, the trilogy movies, have been put on hold by Disney. And it's funny because I'm looking at Forbes right now, and Forbes I don't believe would report on or comment on a very I guess right now it's an unofficial rumor, an unconfirmed rumor, which is about as non-committal as you can possibly get. And it's just funny because it's crystal clear to Star Wars fans why Solo didn't do well. It was because they didn't want to watch it. They weren't interested in the franchise anymore. Right now, the series needs a break, and it needs a break because of the movie that just came out before it, which is The Last Jedi. That is entirely the problem. It isn't franchise fatigue. It's not that Star Wars movies need to be an event. It's entirely due to The Last Jedi. There is no there is no other deep reason for it. That's all it is, entirely, full stop. I mean, if it was a comedy, if it was just like an irreverential comedy, like supposedly Lord and Miller were making, it'd be different. But I think from what I've heard, Solo is just a solid movie, which is all Star Wars movie needs to be. The problem is The Last Jedi was not a solid movie. Now there was an irreverential. The Last Jedi was irreverential. It was like a Saturday Night Live skit, a $200 million Saturday Night Live skit, and it didn't bring the franchise forward. That's what critics and the social justice type said. Oh, the Star Wars story has to evolve. It has to move forward, and it didn't. It didn't evolve it or move it forward at all. All it did was take all the air out of it. I mean, it just completely killed all momentum. What Rian Johnson did in that movie was, let's just say there's a list of avenues you could give the Luke Skywalker character creatively. I had no idea what to expect from The Last Jedi. I had no idea. I wasn't going, okay, so Luke, he's got to do this or I'm not going to be happy. He's got to have white glowing eyes, and he's got to crush a Star Destroyer with his mind. I didn't have any specific expectations for Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. I just had a general idea that it was going to be fun to watch. I was like, whatever they decide to do with him, it's going to be fun to watch, it's going to be uplifting, and it's going to be a feel-good experience, and it's going to fulfill the anticipation that had built up for the past 2 years, which Disney created. And I mean, let's just spitball a few ideas. What would Luke Skywalker? What could his story have been in The Last Jedi? Let's see. One of the popular ideas was maybe he was a dark Jedi, or he'd gone to the dark side and was just keeping himself away from everybody else to not be an influence. Like he was a conflicted dark side guy, Who knows? He lost. What else could Luke have been? He could have just been Luke Skywalker, the greatest Jedi that we've ever seen. And his only reason for going into hiding was Kylo Ren went to the dark side. Presumably, the First Order was doing exactly what the Empire did in the prequels. The end of the prequels was hunt down Jedi wherever they could find them. And in this case, it's like Snoke says in The Last Jedi. I'm not trying to create any kind of correlation between any intelligence in The Last Jedi and a possible plot point, but it's true. As powerful as a Jedi could be, you could orbitally bomb a planet and wipe them out. I mean, that's Anyway, so it could be maybe Luke was on the run. He had hidden his location just because he knew if the First Order found out where he was at, they would attack him in a way that he could not repel. And the most obvious, I guess, was that he had somehow gone too far into the dark side, or he had learned how to control the dark side, but he didn't think anybody else would understand or be able to, or that he was just simply in hiding. He had hidden his location. He'd set it up to where only someone guided by the light side of the Force could find him, which was Rey, which seemed to be what was being implied in The Force Awakens. Maybe J.J. Abrams should have been more clear about what Luke was doing and why, so that Rian Johnson couldn't come in and ruin it. Rian ruined Johnson. So this guy, of all the different creative choices he could make to portray Luke Skywalker, he's like the relative who gives you a bag of socks for Christmas. When you put on your Christmas list like the most affordable, cool item, whatever it was, if you're a kid, a toy, whatever, but something that was of equal value to a bag of socks, we'll say, he gets you the bag of socks. You didn't ask for this. You weren't wanting this. This isn't what you waited all this time to find when you opened up your Christmas presents, but that's what they got you because they are that kind of person. And tells me a lot about Rian Johnson. Just either he's so detached from the franchise, from the fandom, from the uplift of Star Wars, that he does this. And then you have all the female characters beating down all the men. You know, if you switch the tables there, you had Poe slapping Leia, you had Finn zapping Rose Tico, you had Luke beating down Rey, and then you had Poe shooting Leia. We know how it would have reacted to that. They would have said it was sexist, and it would have been a negative story, and the media would have jumped on that, and they would have villainized the series, Disney and Rian Johnson, for doing that. But because it was against men, we just don't notice that, and it's not such a big deal. Well, to the fans, between the treatment of Luke Skywalker and the treatment of men in general in the movie, it seemed to me like it was a very spiteful attack on the fans that carried the franchise to where it is today. And it seemed like a move where Disney took its audience for granted and didn't understand what they had in Luke Skywalker as a character. And to treat him like they did and then to just kill his character off to where there's no way now we can get him back in a cool way. They've done it. This is like a bone that will not mend. They have broken something and made it unfixable. It's like a totaled car. Only there is all the parts for that totaled car are gone. You can't fabricate them. There's nothing you can do now. This is it. This is it. You have broken it. And now they're saying, but here we go again. Forbes is saying, looks like Solo killed the Star Wars spinoffs. No, it didn't. It didn't. Disney allowing Rian Johnson to film such an awful Star Wars movie in The Last Jedi is what killed Solo. There's no reason to cancel all these movies apart from the fact that Disney has so utterly destroyed the most lucrative movie franchise in history. There's nowhere for them to go, and they understand this. So here's what needs to happen. First off, Rian Johnson needs to go first. You might be able to salvage a few of these movies or a little bit of the fan interest if you just let Rian Johnson go and announce it publicly so that we all know, and talk about how great he is. I don't care how you phrase it, but he needs to go. Kathleen Kennedy needs to go. Some of these other guys, this guy who Rian Johnson's partner, he needs to go big time. There had to have been a lot of people behind the scenes who were creatively involved in the development of The Last Jedi. I'm not saying all of them need to be fired, like wardrobe designers, that kind of stuff, but they need to not be put on any more Star Wars projects. Because visually there's so much stuff in that movie that was so just odd and not what I wanted to see, and aesthetically the style of the movie for the most part wasn't cool. The Praetorian Guards are pretty cool, but a lot of the stuff, the little hats everybody seemed to be wearing, a lot of people just need to go. Um, so then, what do you do to go forward? What else can you do? So you fired Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy. I think those are the two main people, and Rian Johnson's producer buddy. They need to go for sure. Once you get those people off of it completely and never to touch Star Wars ever again, that's kind of like the beginning of getting your franchise back. And this is what you paid for. You got something priceless. Star Wars is priceless. It's a cultural phenomenon. It was. I mean, I don't know if it ever can be again. They may just have destroyed something so irreparably. I don't know if it can come back, but I know how it is. Time heals, and maybe Star Wars needs a lot of time off. Maybe that's what it. Maybe that's all Star Wars needs. It just needs a long time off. Like you Disney, I guess, is determined to release this last episode 9. I don't know. I really don't understand why. I don't think there isn't any anticipation for this movie right now. There's really no story left to tell. I mean, you can have Rey and Kylo fight it out again, and I don't see where they can really take it. There's so much about outsmarting themselves that I don't think they really have any way to resolve this. It's not going to be. I don't think there's going to be a decisive end for this. I mean, if they're smart, they just blow up what's left of the First Order. Where the First Order keeps getting their stuff, I don't know, but they just need to get rid of, just blow up the rest of the First Order, and then maybe Rian Johnson should have a cameo appearance where he's sitting in a Star Destroyer or something, and he's like sitting there smiling to himself or whatever, and he kind of like how they did a close-up of Leia right before she got blasted into space in The Last Jedi. We could have like a close-up of him when all the fire is hitting him and the explosion, and he gets vaporized and he's just wiped out completely. I mean, he could be dressed up like an Imperial officer or something, just to kind of make it fit, not make it so obvious. But that would be a nice touch. I think people would pay to see that. Rian Johnson just getting fictionally, not in real life, fictionally vaporized, in a the series that he had an influence on. That would be a nice touch. Just to say, hey fans, we understand. This is, you paid to see Luke Skywalker, the great hero and Force user, Jedi Knight, and we didn't give you that. So maybe you'll pay to see Rian Johnson get nuked. I don't know. But anyway, so that's right now. I will just say right now, let's not live too much in the moment. And but anyway, so that's right now. I will just say right now, let's not live too much in the moment. And in the moment right now, a lot of fans are mad and madder at Disney, and I do feel like if you give the series enough time off, it can come back and it can rebuild into something that moves a lot of people. But I would just say I have a feeling as a cultural phenomenon, it could be pretty much over. The bonds have been severed for good, possibly. But I just know how it is. People have said in the past, well, I can never look at Batman the same again after Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, or other series that have taken a steep dive and come back later and done well again. And so I think it's possible for Star Wars to come back. I don't want to, like I said, live in the moment too much, but yeah. So that's my opinion of what's going on right now. Just Disney is smart for canceling these movies, but unfortunately that isn't the root of the problem, and I don't believe that is going to fix the problem completely. They do need to lessen their Star Wars content until they can find people who can just quit outsmarting themselves and just tell a basic story. I mean, if you're gonna start a new trilogy, first off, you wouldn't have Rian Johnson doing it anyway, but make it the simplest idea possible. A space knight defeats a space dragon. I don't know, a dark force dragon. I mean, how many dark force animals have we come across? there isn't definitely no problem with doing something completely different as long as the idea is good and it's executed well. And it doesn't have to be a dragon, but take it back to the very basics. What was this always about? This was the knight saving the princess. It could be the knight slaying the dragon. It doesn't have to be the male helping a female, but heaven forbid, we don't want that. But just, and has adventures along the way and has to learn their way, and there is a broad character arc. That's the kind of stuff that people like to see. Not this bit where somebody like Rey, who just seems to know it all already. And it's just, all you really need to do is, if you can just get her in the room with the bad guy, she'll wipe them out. So basically the point of the series so far is just keeping her away from the bad guy so she doesn't just annihilate them, because she can. But yeah, keep the story simple. Don't outsmart yourself. Don't try to be too cute. Don't try to follow social trends that are going to look stupid in a year or two. They already do now, but it's always later before the media and social media completely confirms that some of these social trends are completely stupid and too much of the moment. Yeah, keep the politics broad. That's what Lucas did. Keep the spirituality broad. That's another smart move by Lucas. Keep it very broad, so it's just very basic: good and evil, good versus evil. This is how good guys act. This is how bad guys act. Keep it simple. That's all I'm saying. So I just I don't have like an agenda here. I haven't done any videos about this yet, and I just really just wanted to speak my mind and vent how I feel, which is shared by many other people on the internet and in real life. So anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching.